Meet my dog, my pug, the hog on a log, Edgar. You can compare this guy to a marshmallow. He's squishy, way too sweet, and you could roast him, and he won't do anything about it. So let's toughen him up and make him some armor. Let's get started. The first thing I'm gonna do is create a template. I will need Saran Wrap, tape, and my good old trusty Sharpie. I like using masking tape. It's easier to tear, but duct tape is fine too. All we did was wrap the pug with Saran Wrap, and then we used small pieces of tape to go over it. I recommend taping in sections, then to overload it. Then you just use your good old Sharpie and get a rough sketch. He was a very good boy. Now that I have a template of the back and chest, I'm going to cut out the rough sketches and transfer them onto some cardstock. I only got about half of the chest plate done before the pup got too wiggly, but that's okay, we can still make it work. Now, this doesn't look exactly how I want it, so while I straighten out all the lines, I'm going to make a few adjustments. I'm going to bring it in by his legs, so it's more comfortable, that'll fit him better. And I know I just drew underwear, but bear with me. I also extended the top where the straps are going to be, so it'll wrap around nicely. Here is the first template all the way to the last, so it can take a couple tries to make it work and get the look you want. I did check back in with Chunkosaurus several times to make sure it fit right. Now for the design, this is purely up to you. I'm just winging it and sketching what comes to mind. I've done some armor pieces in the past and I like it when they have edges, so I'm going to do that. And I'm also adding bolts and of course my logo. For both pieces, I'm going to be using 4mm foam. I'm going to transfer the final template onto the foam and cut it out with a razor blade. Here I have it cut out, so now it's time for the designs. For all the designs, I'm going to be using 2mm foam. I'm using the final foam piece to create an outline that'll fit perfectly. I cut that out, now I'm going to glue it on with some contact cement. This stuff is the best when working with foam. It's super sticky, definitely try it out on some test pieces because it will not leave room for mistakes. I like to center it first and then work my way down. And make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area. Now for the centerpiece, I'm going to trace it out, cut it, then I'm going to score it. Scoring is pretty much making light cuts, but not all the way through. You can't see the marks yet, but I'm going to take a heat gun and it will bring out all the details. It's like magic. Now, just so you know, heating causes things to shrink, so it doesn't hurt to make things a little bit bigger. I'm gonna glue that sucker on there, and here is the final design I came up with. I'm just gonna transfer that over the chest plate. I just scored out the design and added plastic jewels. These are awesome because they'll look like bolts once they're painted. Now we're using the heat gun again to make the foam cohere to the shape I want, and also it'll bring out the designs I carved in, making them really pop out. Let's move on to the back plate. I'm going to be doing essentially the same thing I did for the chest plate. I'm going to cut out the rough sketch and transfer that to a piece of cardstock. Moving on to the second layer, I'm going to trace it out, then cut it out. I have both the first and second layer cut out, so now I'm seeing how they look together. I actually wanted to create this back piece a little longer, so I decided to add a third layer. I'm going to use the second layer as a guide to help me make a template for it. I folded a piece of paper in half and used the ruler to draw out my lines. I didn't change my back piece much. I traced it out on some 4mm foam and cut that out. For the second and third layer, I traced it, but I actually added an extra inch to half an inch so I could glue them while still maintaining the length I needed. Then I cut them both out and glued them to each other. And here's how it's looking. I drew the design on the paper templates while I was just sitting on the couch. So this is what I came up with. Now I'm just going to cut the paper designs out, transfer them to 2mm foam, and glue them on. My cuts were not as round as I wanted, so to make them smoother, I'm going to sandpaper them down. I also wanted to make horns for this piece. To do that, I used any cylinder around me. I think this was just a can of paint. Traced that out and then made a Pac-Man looking guy. Then I checked if it was the size I wanted. It wasn't, so I just cut it and made a tighter cone. So it's more like a half circle now. After I figured out the size I wanted, I traced it out so I'd have two perfectly matching ones. Now I have these cute little horns. I glued those bad boys on, so now I can start mapping out the designs around it. Here is how the first piece is looking with everything glued down. And now we're going to move on to the next piece and add horns to that as well. Before I could finish the second piece, I had to work on the third one because the second piece would be essentially covering the last piece. So I drew on some scales with some Sharpie, and I'm just going to score that out with my razor blade. Now we're going to glue on both the wings and continue with the second piece. Now I can glue on the other design pieces so that everything fits together. It's all glued. Now I'm going to take the heat gun to it and make sure it's that round shape to fit that pug body. To help shape it, I had this perfectly sized box. I heated it up and left it in there to set. So now both pieces are done except for paint, and now we need to find a way to connect them. I'm going to be using fake leather for my straps. It's cheap, looks nice, easy to work with. Basically, I'm going to create a harness. So imagine my hand is a chest plate, and I'm going to do 2 shoulder straps, then 1 long strap around the belly, and then 1 tiny strap to connect the chest piece to the belly band. So I'm going to cut out 4 strips and attach them with some heavy duty Velcro. Here's the belly band, the 2 shoulder straps, and the tiny piece to connect the chest piece to the belly band. Which is why I put some Velcro on the inside of it. This Velcro is pretty sticky, but not sticky enough, so I'm going to add some contact cement and help it stay better on the foam. I'm adding 3 pieces of Velcro to the chest plate. For the back piece, it's going to get Velcro in 4 places. Here's how it's going to be worn. The shoulder pieces will attach to the top. The belly band connected on the sides. And the small piece to connect the chest plate to the belly. So now I created a little harness. Sorry if that's confusing. I tried to explain it the best I could. To seal the foam, you can either use Mod Podge or Plasti Dip. I'm using Plasti Dip. I'm taking the armor outside and I'm just going to do nice smooth sprays, coating the entire piece. I did a couple coats of this and let it dry. Here's a little teaser of it on the hog. The black makes it look like leather, but I'm going for a steel armor. So here's the silver spray I'm using. And same thing before. I'm going to do a couple nice coats of it on both the back plate and the chest plate. After that dries, I'm headed back to the lab, and I'm gonna add some gold accents to pretty much all the details I made with the 2mm foam. This will need about 3 to 4 coats, and let it dry a little bit in between coats to fully cover up all the silver. Now I'm done painting the armor, so time for a little secret. Shoe polish, to bring it to that next level. If you're using this applicator, be wary of this middle piece. It's hard, it could scratch your armor. Here's Mighty Thor's helmet I did in the past, and it got pretty scratched from it, and I wasn't paying attention. The shoe polish is gonna give it a weather look, but also fill in all the cracks, and it's gonna give it that contrast and make the designs really pop out. You wanna work in sections and then wipe dry as you go. If you did the whole piece, it would dry, it could be too dark or make streaks. So work in small sections. For the back piece, I'm going to do the same thing. Apply the shoe polish, brush on, wipe away. Filling all the cracks, and it looks really nice. This is pretty forgiving. If I made streaks I didn't want, I could go back in with some more shoe polish and wipe it away. Here it is, all shoe polished up. It is done. And now for the final reveal. Cue the bear pig.
Coming to you this fall. One pug sets out to prove everyone wrong. Come together to witness a journey of both discovery and bravery. He must protect. He must fight.
Alright, I hope you enjoyed that one. It was fun. Edgar had fun. I had fun. No abuse happened. I know you might not believe me. He's a spoiled baby. But it was so fun to make this, and I will see you guys in the next one later. Remember to clean up your station and be plucky. Bye.